Okay, we're live. I'm going to call the meeting of the June 17th Glendive City Council to order. If you'll stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Baker,
Here.
Kuhn, Dryden,
Here.
Hedrick, Hines, Mitchell, Sassy, Thompson, Ambulance, Finance, Police, Public Works.
Okay, could I get a motion to approve the minutes of the June 3rd, 2025 public hearing? Okay, Betsy, in a second. Brett? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes of the June 3rd, 2025 public hearing, say aye. Any abstaining? All right, the next item is to approve the minutes of the June 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting. Could I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, Mike, and a second is from Jason. So all in favor of approving the minutes of the June 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting, say aye. Then we'll move to old business, the street committee report from Joanne.
I was in attendance. Brett, Jason, Mike, Biden, Don Simon, and president. That was a letter from Babe Ruth requesting some street closures for the state tournament that they were awarded. The dates for those tournaments are July 10th and the 12th, and they're asking for those two streets to make the L in front of the two sides of the baseball field to be closed during those days. And then there was no public comment. We adjourned our meeting at 4:02 p.m.
All right, thank you. Next is the Fooper report from you, Mr. Dryden.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, we waited a minute. We started at 4:03, and we had the same people present that Joanne mentioned in her report. I think you mentioned who was there, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was in the back of the room not paying attention, so. I was doing my bills. First item was on the part paid firefighter wages. The Mayor Dion brought up for discussion raising wages paid to the city's part paid firefighters. There is a wage paid for training and a wage paid for active duty calls. And the wages earned are paid out once a year, and it goes to the Montana State Firefighters Retirement System on behalf of the individual part paid firefighter. Mr. Kuhn suggested tying an increase in wages for the city's full-time firefighters to a similar percentage increase for the part paid firefighters. Mr. Center and Mayor Dion will investigate the issue and report back to the council or the committee. So no action. The next item was on the Pound Puppies contract. Mayor Dion brought forth a proposal for a 6-month service agreement with J&P Pound Puppies to board and care for any dog that the Glendive Police Department brings to them at a cost of $2,000 for the 6 months. This fee will be paid in advance of the 6 months of service. The Dawson County Sheriff's Office is a party to this agreement, and they will also pay $2,000 in advance for the service. The committee recommends the council approval of this agreement with J&P Pound Puppies for $2,000 for a 6-month service contract. Agenda item 3 was about the request for inventory, and Mayor Dion and Director of Operations John Center will work on implementing an inventory process for city department heads. and possibly the employees will be involved in that too. This compilation of city inventory will begin this calendar year in September. Again, no action on this item. The next item is replacing downtown street sweeping signs. In order to bring the downtown regulatory street sweeping signs into compliance with the street sweeping practice, new signs with the proper time limits on parking need to be installed. It was reported that Public Work Director Cian stated there's money in the budget for the new signs to be installed. No action needed by the council. And there was no public comment, Mayor, so we adjourned at 4:31.
Okay, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is public comment. No one signed up for public comment. It doesn't look like we have any public here, so let's move on to new business. Could I get a motion to approve the street closure for the Babe Ruth tournament? Okay, Joanne, in a second, Kevin. All in favor of approving the street closure for the Babe Ruth tournament, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstaining? No. All right, the next item is to approve the Pound Puppies contract. Could I get a motion for that? Okay, Kevin, in a second. Mike? Now, discussion. I just want to make a couple of points about this. As you know, I am not on the Facebook, but I was told there was a Facebook post regarding this contract saying that it's a violation of our ordinance. So our ordinance says that we take the dogs to the pound and they're kept there for 72 hours. And that's what our previous contract said. But Patty and Joe asked for an extra day to try to find the owner. So in the contract, we say that the dogs will be kept there now for 4 days or 96 hours. And the other issue that the anonymous person had was that when our ordinance says when an officer picks up a dog, whether it's licensed or not, it goes to the pound. So right now, because the pound is full and they're working to make room for our dogs, I had said at a public meeting that if your dog is licensed, and at this time, if we pick up your dog and it's licensed, we'll contact you. Yes, you'll get a dog at large ticket, but your dog won't go to the pound because, of course, there's no room for him right now. So I do have a message to our city attorney to see if I need to add an addendum to this contract stating what it is, a 6-month service agreement. It's not a permanent solution, but for now, I feel that it meets the needs of what we're asking. And we're also working with the people who have the pound to allow that extra day. So even though our ordinance states 72 hours, I believe that this agreement for this 6-month period can override that ordinance. So I'm waiting for clarification on that, but I think in the meantime, until we get an addendum or clarify it, I think we can go ahead and vote on it, because as we've discussed at the meetings, we don't really have a lot of options. So I'm open for discussion or input from any of you if you have any comments about it. I don't really feel like we have to respond to every anonymous post, but it is kind of frustrating. Yes, Mike.
Well, in effect, Mayor, as far as the cost goes, 72.96, it makes no 72 hours, 96 hours, it makes no difference in the cost.
Right.
And so they're keeping an animal alive one more day so they can try to find the owner
Or try to adopt it.
or adopt it, yeah.
Yeah. We haven't had a lot of luck with adopting the dogs at the pound. There's 5 dogs out there now. If anybody wants to adopt a dog, it's the right thing to do, I guess, if you're thinking of getting a pet, to adopt one from a pound. Yes, Mike.
How does that process work? So then a dog's brought in with no well, my dog would have a license on it, so without the license and stuff, then there, in a sense, maybe no identifying.
Well, they
They
might,
could have identification on it without a license, I get that.
they might have a chip. And
Right.
then, we need to remember that sometimes, occasionally, not frequently, but the dog that's brought to the pound might have been, from a crash. And so they're gonna maybe try to keep that dog a little longer or, to try to find the owner. So sometimes it's from some kind of an incident that they end up with a dog, and then there have been some owner surrenders, which they're not accepting anymore. I mean, you can't just take your dog out to them and say, I don't want this dog anymore. You can try to adopt it or whatever, because you know, they're good-hearted people. They don't want to put any dog down, and of course we don't either. But we have to be realistic. So after 96 hours, then either the police or the sheriff will go pick up the dog and take it over to the vet. That is an expense for the city. We will be paying for that. But
Excuse me, I didn't make it clear. I guess I was wondering if somebody's looking for their dog, besides actually going out there physically, is there any way to look online and see these are the dogs? I mean, I don't know.
they have a Facebook page and they show pictures of their
So
dog.
they would show, and then somebody whose dog is missing could
Mhm.
check it, and therefore.
Right.
Everyone that gets taken out there, they take pictures of it,
Mhm.
post it.
Yeah.
Discussion. Aside from the 30 pictures throughout the neighborhood that they take, is this your dog? Just trapped in my yard. I
Yes.
think that nobody's pets here are gonna be.
Well, we're not rounding up anybody's pets. That's kind of ridiculous, because that was another Facebook page that the city is gonna kill your pets. Of course, we're not. But if the dog is running loose and it gets picked up and it has a license right now, you'll get your dog back. And of course, if it has a license and it ends up at the pound, they'll also be notifying you. But then you'll pay a $40 a day fee at the pound, and you'll have a dog at large. And if it's the fines go up, the more often that this happens. So we hope people will be responsible pet owners, but there are some people who just get rid of a pet and then get another one. So anyway, any other discussion about the pound puppy contract? Yes, Mike.
Not so much about the contract, but kind of, but down the road, just we could run through the ordinance. I'm not sure why we have 72 hours. You could have a time specified by the council. And therefore, a couple of years from now, you guys decide that you want to have it longer, shorter, whatever, then you can do it without changing the ordinance. And the other one was, again, it makes no sense. If I know it's this person's dog, sure, they're gonna get a ticket, but why take it out there and go through that rigmarole? If send them a call and they could, however the police want to handle that, but I mean, that's the problem when you get too much in there, then they're not as flexible, but so maybe down the road we'll do something with that.
Okay, any other discussion about loose dogs?
It might be worth clarifying that that kennel that the city purchased, it's out of the shop,
Mhm.
is in case they run into a rabbit dog or something, or
That's the
suspect.
only thing it's
You
for.
can't take it out to the kennel with 5 other dogs, and they don't have the capability to keep it separate, right? So we have to keep it out there just in case.
It is there in the county. I mean, when we did that, the county had nowhere to put a dog for rabies observation, and neither did the city. And I had just gone to a meeting with the county sanitarian where 18 people had been bitten and had to have rabies shots. That was at the very beginning of my term. And I couldn't believe that that could happen in such a small town, but now that I've been the mayor for 20 months, I see that's kind of common around here. 15, 20 people getting bitten a year is not unusual. So the fact that they couldn't locate the dog was the problem, and that's why they all had to get rabies shots, because the dog could not be located after it had bit all these people. So yes, we do have a kennel that is for rabies observation, and maybe down the road we will be able to have a dog pound at some time, who knows? But it isn't going to happen in this budget year. So I feel that we need to be thankful that these guys are willing to do this, and at least we have a temporary solution to a long-term problem. So anyway, then we can move to the vote. So all in favor of approving the pound puppies contract, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the next thing is to approve changes to the street sweeping district ordinance. This is going to be the first reading of ordinance 7/2025. Can I get a motion for that? Okay, Rhett, in a second. Jason? All right, so again, I think we have to discuss this a little bit because I thought we could just change the signs, but it is in the ordinance, which is in your packet there. So it's ordinance number 7/2025, and it explains about the street sweeping district. So what changed is that the parking is prohibited on the downtown streets between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, also in your packet is the old parking schedule, and I wrote on there, we were going to change it from 6 to 8 a.m. Tuesday and Wednesday, but after talking to Frank, we decided it should be 5 to 7. So it's accurate on the new ordinance, but my handwriting on there, we changed that, so. I guess it's the first reading of the ordinance. I'm not sure I gotta read every ordinance because we all know how to read, but I'll go ahead.
That's fine.
Is
Does the
there,
ordinance say 4 or 5 a.m.?
it
Go
says
ahead and-
4 to 7 a.m. Yeah,
Okay.
right. Sorry, I think I said 5, but we left it at 4.
Okay.
So we changed just from 6 to 7 for that extra hour. So this is a first reading. I'll go ahead and read it. An ordinance amending chapter 75 parking schedule, schedule 1 street sweeping district, Glendive city codes of the city of Glendive. Schedule I, street sweeping district. A, parking prohibited. No person shall park a motor vehicle on the following streets between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday. Number 1, Bell Street from Merrill Avenue West to Clough Street. Number 2, Benham Street from Merrill Avenue West to the alley of the 200 block of West Benham. Number 3, Kendrick Avenue from Clement Street South to Valentine Street. Number 4, Merrill Avenue from Clement Street South to the 400 block of South Merrill Avenue. Number 5, Power Street from Merrill Avenue West to the alley in the 100 block of Power Street. Number 6, Town Street from Merrill Avenue West to Kendrick Avenue, and number 7, Valentine Street from Merrill Avenue West to Kendrick Avenue. B, penalty. Every person who is convicted of a violation of this section shall be fined a sum provided by resolution. So it's an ordinance, so we have to have a roll call vote for this. Is there any discussion about it? Yes, Mike.
I know we have a schedule, schedules are meant to be followed, all that with the street sweeping, and we have a district. And if something ever happened where we weren't able to do it on Tuesday and Wednesday, but we were gonna do it on Monday or Thursday, I would say those people who are in violation then are not in violation, and we get done what they can. In other words, we just move on.
Right.
But I mean, I know we have a schedule, but we all know stuff gets, the world isn't always that orderly.
All right. Any other concerns? All right, Jessica, if you wanna do the roll call vote.
Baker,
Aye.
Kuhn.
Aye.
Dryden,
Aye.
Hedrick,
Aye.
Heinz, Sassy,
Aye.
Thompson,
So it could pass. Okay, the next item is to approve the second reading of ordinance 6/2025, adopting the book of ordinances and repealing the temporary ordinance 5/2025. So could I get a motion for that? Okay, Mike, in a second, Betsy. All right. Are there any questions or concerns? It's a little bit longer, but I guess I could read it. Just waiting for someone to say, you don't have to read those. Okay, ordinance number 6/2025 is an ordinance enacting a code of ordinances for the city of Glendive, Montana, revising, amending, restating, codifying, and compiling certain existing general ordinances of the political subdivision dealing with subjects embraced in such code of ordinances and repealing emergency ordinance number 5/2025. Whereas the municipality, and for the proper conduct of its affairs, passed emergency ordinance 5/2025 to provide for the general compilation, revision, and codification of the ordinances of the municipality, and the emergency ordinance expires 90 days after passage, and whereas a permanent ordinance number 6/2025 to accept the general compilation of the ordinances is needed, and the acts of the legislature of the state of Montana empower and authorize the political subdivision to revise, amend, restate, codify, and compile any existing ordinances and all new ordinances not heretofore adopted and published, and to incorporate such ordinances into one ordinance in book form, and whereas the legislative authority of the political subdivision has authorized a general compilation, revision, and codification of the ordinances of the political subdivision in a general and permanent nature, and publication of such ordinance in book form, and whereas it is necessary to provide for the usual daily operation of the municipality and for the immediate preservation of the public peace, healthy, safety, and general welfare of the municipality, that the emergency ordinance number 5/2025 be repealed, and the permanent ordinance number 6/2025 take effective 30 days after the approval of the second reading. Now therefore it be ordained by the legislative authority of the political subdivision of Glendive, Montana, Section 1, the general ordinances of the political subdivision as revised, amended, restated, codified, and compiled in a book form are hereby adopted as and shall constitute the code of ordinances of the city of Glendive, Montana. Section 2, such code of ordinances as adopted in Section 1 shall consist of the following titles: City of Glendive Code of Ordinances, Table of Contents. Title 1, General Provisions. Chapter 10, Rules of Construction, General Penalty. Chapter 11, City Standards. Title 3, Administration. Chapter 30, Mayor and City Council. 31, City Officers and Employees. 32, City Court. 33, Organizations. 34, Elections. 35, Law Enforcement and Public Safety. 36, Finance and Revenue. Title 5, Public Works. Chapter 50, Garbage and Refuse. Chapter 51, Sewer and Water Systems. Chapter 52, Water Regulations. Chapter 53, Pre-Treatment Regulations. Title 7, Traffic Code. Chapter 70, Traffic Regulations. Chapter 71, Parking Regulations. Chapter 72, Recreational Vehicles. Chapter 73, Trains. Chapter 74, Traffic Schedules. Chapter 75, Parking Schedules. Title 9, General Regulations. Chapter 90, Nuisances. Chapter 91, Noise Control. Title 9, General Regulations continued. Chapter 92, Fire Prevention and Protection. Chapter 93, Parks and Recreation. Chapter 94, Animals. Title 11, Business Regulations. Chapter 110, Amusements. Chapter 111, peddlers, itinerant merchants, and solicitors. Chapter 112, alcoholic beverages. Title 13, general offenses. Chapter 130, general provisions. Title 15, land usage. 150, building regulations. 151, public ways and property. 152, trees. 153, radio, television, and wireless communication facilities. 154, flood damage prevention. 155, zoning. There's parallel references to Montana Code annotated, references to prior code, references to ordinances, and then an index. Section 3, all prior ordinances pertaining to the subjects treated in such code of ordinances shall be deemed repealed from and after the effective date of this ordinance, except as they are included and reordained in whole or in part in such code, provided such repeal shall not affect any offense committed or penalty incurred or any right established prior to the effective date of this ordinance, nor shall such repeal affect the provisions of ordinances levying taxes, appropriating money, annexing or detaching territory, establishing franchises or granting special rights to certain persons, authorizing public improvements, authorizing the issuance of bonds, of borrowing or money, authorizing the purchase or sale of real or personal property, granting or accepting easements, plat, or dedication of land to public use, vacating or setting the boundaries of streets or other public places, nor shall such repeal affect any other ordinance of a temporary or special nature or pertaining to subjects not contained in or covered by the code. Section 4, such code shall be deemed adopted and approved by the legislative authority of the clerk of the political subdivision and is hereby authorized in order to file a copy of such code of ordinances in the office of the clerk following 30 days after the second reading. Section 5, such code shall be in full force and effect as provided in Section 6, and such code shall be presumptive evidence in all courts and places of the ordinance and all provisions, sections, penalties, and regulations therein contained and of the date following 30 days after the second reading, and that the same is properly signed, attested, recorded, and approved, and that any public hearings and notices thereof as required by law have been given. Section 6, this ordinance is repealing the emergency ordinance number 525 and is replacing it with ordinance number 6, 2025, necessary for the immediate preservation of the peace, health, safety, and general welfare of the people of this municipality, and shall take effect at the earliest date provided by law. So, any discussion about that? All right, so again, we need to have a roll call vote because it's an ordinance, so.
Thompson, Sassy,
Aye.
Hines, Hedrick,
Aye.
Dryden,
Aye.
Kuhn,
Aye.
Baker.
Aye.
Okay, looks like it passed. The next item is to approve the accounts payable claims of $1,146,235.36. And a second from
Second.
Kevin, okay. All in favor of approving the accounts payable claims of $1,146,235.36, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, next we have the department head comments. So, I guess we'll start with you, Mr. Center. Did you have anything?
Audit for fiscal year ending June 30th of 2024 has been completed. And we actually had two audits. The first one was for our financial statements audit, and I'm happy to report that auditor found the statements to present fairly in all material respects, the respective financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund and the aggregate remaining fund information of the city of Glendive, Montana as of June 30th, 2024. And there were no findings for the financial statement audit. So that's good news. The second audit was called a federal audit, and that was specifically looking at the federal monies we received through grants or otherwise that were spent on our infrastructure projects. If we hit a certain level of spending, in this case, $750,000, it triggers this single audit requirement. But again, The auditor's opinion, we had no findings. City of Glendive is compliant in all material respects with the types of compliance requirements referred to above that have a direct and material effect on each of its major federal programs for the year ended June. And we did have 6 outstanding issues from previous audits, and 5 of those have been cleared. There is one remaining, and it has to do with a revenue bond covenant requirement, a coverage requirement that we didn't quite meet. And I believe, though, that since this time that requirement has changed to where we would probably be in compliance, I wouldn't confirm that yet, but everything beyond that has been closed. So very good news.
Yes, Mike.
Yeah, John, so with the swimming pool, this, nothing to do with the audit, with the swimming pool now, we do have the electronic payment and those kind of things working.
The credit cards, yeah.
Yeah. And then, with our employees, in July, we were supposed to start, help me out with the time, I forget the name of the program, but the electronic timekeeping.
Yeah, the time clock plus.
Time clock plus, thank you.
And actually, we're probably going to delay that by a month just because of everything happening with negotiations and budget and swimming pool stuff and everything else. I haven't sent out an official notice, but I think it's best that we not rush into that. Sure. That everything is set on our end before we roll that out to the employees, so.
We have the contract signed with Time Clock Plus.
And we continue to work with them as we speak. And I'll just roll out instead of July.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Any upcoming meetings for budget?
Yes, well, probably not for about a month.
Okay,
The next month the departments will have the opportunity to kind of go through the numbers that I've provided, make any adjustments, look at the personnel, look at the revenue. And then in mid-July sometime, we'll be back to start presenting to the budget committee and really start getting into the nitty-gritty of it. So
okay, thank you.
more to come on that.
Anything else for Mr. Center? No? All right, then we will go to Mr. Cian with Public Works. He has a written report in your packet. So I guess if you have any questions or yes, Fred.
Put you on the spot.
What do you got, Red?
No, actually, you probably, I'm not expecting you to know this, but, you know how many hours are on that bathroom? Total bathroom?
Backfill?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Do you remember, you weren't here, but can you remember what year that is?
Boy, 16?
Yeah, that's kind of where I think it's about 10 days.
No, I think it's a.
Yep. And the John Deere loader was right before that.
Yeah. Well,
So my point being, not to beat a dead horse, but, those were items that were on the CIP list back then. And they were planned on replacements. So basically that CIP hadn't really been touched in years, and we definitely haven't been putting money into it, but as you can see, and as you can see from the report, the maintenance and replacing, when it's that kind of stuff. The back on that loader, is gonna come, or at least half the life is over with. But I think that if we keep it the same amount of time, we're looking at 20, 25, 30 years. It's a loader in the backhoe, so replacement programs need to be put in place, and that's through the CIP. So now, that has not gotten any funding put for a good while.
They're still with them. There wasn't this past year. We're hoping that we can restart that for this year. But to your point, yeah, the formal capital improvements plan hasn't been updated since 2016, I believe. That's the thing that I want to get updated so that for next year's budget, we can have an organized way of looking. Because right now, it's sort of what we need now, what the mind now.
It's a good situation right now, the fact that I do have two very qualified mechanics that we do this stuff. Very few places are in that situation, garbage trucks. The schedule before it was the garbage trucks in 5 years.
Okay.
We're not. That's.
Yeah.
You can have it, right. Yeah. So we're doing good. We're getting same format. That was expected to be out 3 years ago. So an issue, and we really need to look at that, but we wasn't the first, that wasn't too. But yeah, we're very fortunate that we have the mechanics that we do in the last year, and hopefully keep these things going. It's good.
All right, yes, Mike.
Yeah, either Frank or John or both. On the enterprise funds, we have or we have not put money into the CIP in the last couple of years, because I know in the general fund we haven't. But in the enterprise funds, we have not, that's kind of, sometimes we don't even get to say that this should be changed and that should be changed. I don't mean we don't have the opportunity, I just that we don't spend as much time as a council going through that particular budget, which I'm not making a complaint about. What I'm just asking is, have we been putting money in our enterprise funds into CIP or not? Because I know the general fund, we are. Okay.
I will say that those funds, generally speaking, have fairly healthy CIP balances right now.
Okay. Is there,
Again, I'm hoping at some point we can start that back up.
their budgets are kind of on their own in a way.
But even if it's just small amounts. we want to-
Sure, oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, those are big purchases there. Yeah,
I was taking it. Way cheaper. It's expensive. I mean, have anybody even come look at something like a not ability to class. Just to get in.
and just one other thing on that, this involves more of the police department and public works, so the police vehicle, would that be this Durango, would that end up as something in our surplus? That we put up for public sale, or is it more like salvage? But it's just scrap, you know, right here it talks about the Durango is being decommissioned. It's having its badges stripped off. So
not a vehicle we want to save or try to save. And so I asked the city shop to take a cage, all basically the piece of equipment out of it. And then like bike auction for snowshoes, and I talking about putting that on the auction and let everybody know that the engine is moving. Positive in the sale.
thank you.
All right, did you have anything else, Chief Mills?
Talking about the dogs a little bit, I just would like to encourage everyone to get their dog licenses. Simply because it really does help us get the dogs back. We can call them. And as we're, if they do have a dog license and have to have the dog out, it really does help. And we can get them back home and save them the $40 a day fee. And then if anybody is worried about their dog, it's stuck at the pound, whatever, or if you have a website, then a lot of people don't, aren't on Facebook for whatever reason. They can just call the Glendive Police Department, let us know that you are looking for your dog. We're available, we go help, and if we find the dog, we get a description, and then if it doesn't have a license, we still who the owner is, if your dog is out. Again, if it's a real pound feet, then we can take the dog feet, down and the dog that's out. We really do try to work with you.
And I appreciate everything you guys do. I mean, seriously, it's above and beyond.
So for, stats, we have 557 calls to service. So.
Any questions for Chief Mills? Nope. All right. How about you, Mary Jo?
But I do want to express my thanks to Jason and Matt and Mayor Diane for the return. Much appreciated. I look forward to working again.
Thank you. All right, so then the next item is the city court report is also in your packet. The committee meetings are the ordinance committee will meet on June 23rd at 4 p.m. and the personnel committee will meet on June 23rd at 4:15 p.m. I just have a few things to say in my mayor comments. I did have a citizen come in and mention that there are people who are parking on the north side of the attic building. That is BN property. In addition, it obstructs people's views of the murals that they just painted on there. So they're asking if people will please just park in the city parking lot. There's lots of room. You won't get towed away if you're in the city parking lot, but you've got a chance of getting towed when you're sitting in the BN property. So there are people who come to town or who've lived here before. They want to take a picture of themselves by the murals, and those cars are always in the way. So I just ask people to please use the city parking lot. I kind of agree with what she says. And then I want to thank everyone who wrote letters of support to the Army Corps of Engineers. They've gotten a lot of letters. They're very impressed. So they said they will continue to accept letters till mid-July. So if any of you haven't sent your letter, please do. And then I got a letter from the Museum of the Rockies. They're going to be back in Glendive soon. So if you see them, please welcome them back to Glendive. The Government Study Committee will meet at 6 at the Kearney Center on Thursday, June 26th. They're finalizing a survey to send out to all the residents. So again, they're trying to get people to come to the meeting. So I'm just letting people know. And then I guess, like Mary Jo said, I wish to thank all the people who choose to work for the city. I hope that the residents of Glendive realize how fortunate we are to have so many dedicated firefighters, police, dispatchers, ambulance drivers, EMTs, all the excellent public work employees, the lifeguards, the cashiers, the pool managers, and of course the council members and everyone at City Hall. Having so many responsible and dedicated people working for the city is something for us all to be proud of. So thank you all for sharing your knowledge with me and for your support. And I hope you all know how much we really do appreciate all of you. So thank you. And with that, we can move to adjournment. And Jason moves and Doug seconds it. So all in favor of adjourning, say aye. All right, the meeting is adjourned at 7:44.